with more post-Duelist Nexus fun, and Rika really wanted to overrun this tournament, but the winner's not what you expect to see. Make sure you guys smash the and crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. Oh man, we're back with our next wrap-up here of post-Duelist Nexus environment, and you know, there's not much going on here for Duelist Nexus, actually. You know, the last couple of tournaments we've looked at, there's been some pretty interesting things to actually look at. No, not today, actually. I think the most exciting thing that you would maybe consider in terms of Duelist Nexus support would be, you know, looking at the Menkanko deck, but that's neither here nor there. So biggest represented deck in Top Cut here was actually Rika Sun Avalon Plants, and it didn't even win the event, actually, which I think is kind of crazy when you look at, like, everything else here, because the top end of the meta doesn't even look like it fairly existed for this tournament. So winning the event was actually Marincess. Bet you didn't expect that. Marincess, I mean, it's a towers deck just like, you know, Rika Sun Avalon, but sometimes it feels like it can do it better. Also, it's got some natural immunity against other water monsters, which is kind of hilarious at the end of the day. You know, Stealth Kraken running around popping things. Kind of interesting when you think about it. We also had that Menkanko deck that I mentioned, which Menkanko Toolbox is by far, I think, the ultimate buster for these sorts of events here where you're playing online. Menkanko, just, if people don't know how to play against it, you rack up the free W's. And then, of course, we had Branded. Branded actually is still doing its thing. Okay. At least for this build, it's going to be very interesting. And then, of course, Boo Cash. Just kidding. We did have a Cash Tier player present in Top Cut. And then we also had a Super Heavy Samurai player, which, when you get the chance to look at the Super Heavy Samurai list, some of the innovations and things from this list actually looked very, very interesting. And I must say, I'm actually happy to see it. Let's pass on over to the top deck list. Winning our event here is none other than Marincess. And yes, we are playing Dream Shark in here as well. You know, you might not consider a lot of, like, maybe one or two of these little extension cards in here to actually be relevant, but they actually do matter at the end of the day. And of course, I mean, like I mentioned previously, Stealth Kraken value and Bahamut Shark, both of these cards definitely get you places. Other little interesting things here, we're maximizing on Droplet and we're only playing one late wave. I know somebody's going to comment and be like, wow, you know, only one wave, what a terrible player. No, I think you can get away with this. This is actually kind of interesting. And now the next water deck is taking advantage of Spiritual Water Owie. Once again, these water decks are kind of getting the chance to kind of grind out because of Spiritual Water Owie. And I say this every single video that we talk about this, but hand knowledge is supreme. Even if you don't think that it is, you know, being able to detour your opponent's strategy in the form of this, absolutely a banger. Like, it's a free auto win button in certain matchups. Next up here we have Rika Sun Avalon, barely missing out on first place here. Now we are playing some board breakers in here. Honestly, this deck does need the chance to sit up and be able to play the game, and that's what you're going to get with this. And then I see we can bridge the gap here with the good old Small World package in this deck. And then of course I see we are playing Rika Sheet in here as well. Now this build is going to get a little bit more interesting here. We do play the Spiritual Water Owie as a 1-of in the side deck, and then of course all the thrust packages, and then of course the Rose Whip, and then the Spider Orchid. I feel like this deck's extra deck is so incredibly tight. You might get maybe one flex spot, if at all, honestly. I think it's like my biggest concern about trying to play Rika Sun Avalon is if you burn through those extra deck resources, you're just gonna cry yourself to sleep. And then double copies of Lone Fire Blossom here. Honestly, outside of that, very, very good. This package is pretty standardized, I feel like. Alright, next up here we have our... we are doing the Neospace Connector stuff. We are playing the Axe of Fools here. And then we are playing Revolution Synchrons here. Revolution, his entire purpose is to get to Power Tool Dragon. You go ahead and reveal, you know, the 3 of whatever tool that you're going to need at the stage of the combo, and you just go ahead and set on up. I mean, the rest of the deck is extremely just Battle Phase Reflection. You do have some combo things that you can do down here in the extra deck. Do kind of keep that in mind. And we are getting the chance to play the Spiriting Away here as well. So yeah, the new Menkanko stuff actually making a little bit of a splash. We're not playing the new Ritual monster. as much as, you know, the new ritual monster seems incredibly cool, it doesn't feel like it tends to add a lot to the already existing combos, I feel like. So kind of keep that all in mind at the end of the day, but I am happy to see that the combo version of this deck is still sitting at the dinner table. Next up here, hey, this is, we got some cute little innovations here. So we gutted out the Thorion package for this version of the deck, chalked it down to the side deck, and then we are playing Dark World No More and the Herald of the Abyss here. This feels like more of a going second version of Rikas on Avalon, where you're going to attempt to board breaker your opponent as hard as you can. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right, with as many thrust and talents as we're playing here. And, you know, you follow it up, or, you know, if you see the Dark World No Mores, just to make sure that you can get the chance to play the game. And then, once again, we're maximizing on triple Spiritual Water Art Alway down here, just to make sure that, you know, you can set up, play the game, and, you know, get things going in your favor. And then, of course, we are playing the one Rika sheet here as well. Outside of that, I don't see anything else too left field. Like I said before, I mean, a lot of this deck, your extra deck feels very, very tight. You do get some innovation room in the main deck, as you know, the going second build versus the previous build is primary examples. Next up here, 50 card branded. Does this deck ever get a break? Does this deck ever not have to play an extreme, like, amount of cards? Like, I always ask that, but, like, I know the answer. It's forced to make all these terrible decisions just to be able to, you know, make sure that it can play the game. Biggest things that I see here, yes, we are playing Gimmick Puppet Plant, we are playing the Borreload Furious Dragon, which is, I guess, stuck around for a little while here. We are playing the Branded King, or the Brightest Blazing Branded King, so we got value for this. We have Board Breakers in here, with the talents. We're not playing Thrust, which is interesting. Okay. I will say also Crossout Designator, and then we're citing the Alba Lenatus in here as well, but I mean, outside of that, like, interesting to see that, you know, the Predaplant package here is getting some love, because most people at this stage have just gutted this out of the deck. They're like, there's no real point in even including this. So to see that we're getting value back from that is interesting. Next up here is our Kashtira deck. Yay! Kashtira innovations. Yay! We are chalking in the Darkhold Board Breakers. Wow, this is very interesting. So we have Lances for defensive options, same with the books. We have Board Breakers for this. Filtering options, check, and then we are playing the double talents here. But this build isn't, we're not playing Thrust, which is kind of interesting to me. Considering all the option trees that you're playing here, and then, I mean, that just makes the EEV, you know, with Trap Trick, you have to be able to see it or do its thing. So, I mean, you're still technically playing 3 ERADs, but I feel like at this stage, you could have had a little bit more room to do some other things. I see that we are playing the Skull Wagon and the Skull Knight as well. So, interesting to see the ratios and things that this duelist chose to bring to the table for this. Even though I don't like these all that much, interesting, to say the least. Next up here, we have the Super Heavy Samurai Value Train. And I joke about this card, but I love this card. Shinkuro, basically you expedite the process to make the burrito here. You bring out the Shinkuro, and then congratulations, you got a free Baron de Fleur. Is it effective? Oh, absolutely. Like, that's the whole reason why you want to include the one brick in your deck, so you can get the chance to do its thing. Now, honestly, this is one of the first versions of this deck that I've seen be successful as of late. Like, this deck has had a terrible time adjusting, and the fact that, you know, it is sitting here right now, actually showcasing that it could do something, I'll clap for it. I think that's actually awesome. Most of the extra deck option tree down here, you're not going to get a lot of innovation room for. You're pretty much stuck, locked in with this just so you can do your thing. And of course, shout out to General Coral here, actually being a mainstay now for this deck. Deck is still an absolute banger. You just kind of got to work around with your, you know, play lines at this point. Next up here, we have more Rikas on Avalon. That was 3 of those things in the top cut of this event, which is crazy to me. Of course, I'm still sporting off some Board Breaker Hadokens here. There's the one Spiritual Water Art Owie. We are focusing on the 2 Lone Fire Blossoms. We're still doing the Therion package in here as well. Just fine, maximizing on the best card in the deck, honestly. And then, of course, still citing the good value down here for the deck. I don't have much to really say about this. Everything else looks pretty straightforward. So what do you think about the breakdown for Kong's new event? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here. Learn day, guys. Peace out. patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.